The Coaches Show is brought to you by Highway 55, Burgers, Shakes, and Fries. The Professional Fence Company. Our name says it all. No job too big or too small. Nunboys.com. And GPS Photography and Video, GPSPhotoandVideo.com. Welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Glenn Young alongside head coach Tom Paris, Hal Nunn. The Coaches Show is brought to you by Highway 55, Burgers, Shakes, and Fries. Professional Fence Company, profence.com. Find them on the web and also on Facebook.
Yep.
Their name says it all. No job too big or too small. Give them a call, 910-875-5912. Nunboys.com. Marketing, embroidery, t-shirts, GPS Photography and Video, GPSPhotoandVideo.com. Coach, went up to Rocky Mount, and we were in this game. But once again, it seems to be the same motto every week. We had 3 offsides penalties, 4, and then of course we had a couple of illegal procedures on the offense, which seemed to rival the defense in their effort, and a couple of holdings. But bottom line, we couldn't get them off the field.
4 encroachment penalties in critical situations. 2 of them were 3rd and short.
Giving them a first down.
2 of them were 4th and short. And I tell you, it's almost maddening because even in every one of those situations, you counsel them, you coach them, you tell them, here comes the hard count, don't jump, key to ball.
Situational awareness.
And it's several coaches on the sideline. Myself, Coach Coleman, Coach Johnson, Coach Deese, Coach McCants, Coach Covington. I mean, everybody. And then and you sit there and you watch, and then all of a sudden,
well, even the kid knows it, because I was one situation. I don't know if you saw it from the other side, Glenn. One of our linemen just stood up and he threw his own hands up. He was like, I can't believe I just did that.
Well, and after the second one, I turned and looked at Coach Coleman and I said, I don't have an answer for that.
They know what's coming.
We can't prepare them any better for the situation, and it's youth, it's inexperience, it's an extreme desire to make a big play in a clutch situation, and it's hopefully we're learning from it.
We had for the final score was 35-14 Rocky Mount. Going into half, it was 21-14 thanks to Jacob Russian's 52-yard kickoff return or punt return. My question is basically on defense. There was still a couple of really big plays that they were allowed to get some momentum off of. I think the yardage was for them for passing was 115 yards, but they only threw 4 times, or they only completed 4 times. Let me finish. And I keep asking people, I didn't play offensive or defensive line, I kicked, so I don't know a lot about the technique, but when they talk about the word pinch down, our defense not pinching down, and then the safeties and linebackers breaking, it opens it up over top. Is that what does the pinch down mean?
Well, and that really wasn't the issue. The issue was the fact that, all 4 passes they threw were play action, and our secondary bid on the play action.
He had a big time rollout.
But again, you're talking about, you got 2 sophomores out there and inexperience and youth, and and we're constantly telling those guys on the back end, your pass players first, play pass first, run second. And the funny thing about it is, if you have a defensive back that's leading your team in tackles, then
Quinn Maynard,
it's
if he's making the tackles, you've already
it's getting by a lot of other
people.
Well, exactly. It's like Earl Wolf at NC State.
Gain of 5, a gain of 8 years. 8 yards.
Leading the team in tackles, but he's a safety.
And when you look at that, the fact that they do probably are a little bit more run conscious than they ought to be, it's really that way by default, because how often they have to come up and make tackles.
Right.
Well, a lot of times they were in the backfield but couldn't close the deal. I mean, they pinched down, they had gotten penetration. Sean Smog, I saw him, he was getting cut a lot. Got off the cut block, made the tackle, but by the time he makes the tackle, the guy's gained 5 yards. It's very methodical, very meticulous offense in that wing T. If you can get a stop, then they got a hard way to go because a lot of times that's all they got is to run and very few pass patterns.
Right.
But we just couldn't get them off the
But
field.
Sean was the second leading tackler, I believe. He was one of them at the top. So you had a lineman or linebacker, and then you had a safety leading tackles there. So something, I guess it's the inexperience, right? I mean, it's
It
gotta
is,
be.
and you talk about pinching down, and while we don't necessarily use that terminology, we do set reduction things, and we don't call it pinch per se, but the concept exists in our defense, and when we do that, the execution of the moves and being where we're supposed to be is one thing, but the finishing plays is a whole nother thing. Tackling with authority, we preach constantly and we work on it every day, the 4 R's of tackling, rip, wrap, roll, run, and
Well, 2 guys I noticed stepped up. Antonio Locklear stepped up his game, and of course you mentioned last week Joseph Chavis. I saw him making some hits in there, so things are picking up.
Well, and you look at Joe. Joe was pressed into action at linebacker after Trey's injury, and Joe had to learn a lot very quickly. And Joe has improved and come along well. Antonio is getting better every week, but that's the case at a lot of places, and it's difficult to see it because it's hard to see past the record.
Right. Well, the thing about it, Coach, when you look at 0-6, you talk about youth, it's really a discipline problem. If they're still making these mistakes at this point in the game, they know what's coming.
It's a
hard count.
self-discipline problem.
Right.
It is. It's a self-discipline problem, and that's fully attributable to anxiety and a desire to make plays. Like I said earlier, I mean, you look at little kids who are eager and they're not really doing anything to get in trouble, but they do things. What's the word I'm looking for? Off the cuff, spontaneously.
Spontaneous.
They do things spontaneously with an eager enthusiasm, trying to make something good happen, but they it's like
They get exploited.
it's like a little kid that puts his hand on the hot stove.
Right.
And I made this analogy. In fact, I made it against Rocky Mount. I said, we're that little kid that just keeps putting his hand back on the hot stove. At some point
We keep getting burned.
At some point, we got to learn.
Yeah. But we couldn't get the stops. But on the flip side of the offense, again, we jumped off sides or illegal procedure penalties 3 times. We also had a holding. These kinds of things are drive stoppers.
Drive killers.
And so it's happening on both sides of the ball, and I attribute it to just playing. You're getting a situation where you're playing young players, and they just have not matured yet. We got a lot of baby deers out there on the field.
A lot of our blocking techniques incorporate subtle holding tactics. There are legal ways to hold, and when we do get caught, it's not because they're just arbitrarily just committing the foul, but they're trying to do what we coach them to do, and but the hand placement's bad, and it's just such that they're not inside the framework, so it's going to get called.
Well, now when you look at Rocky Mount, they had a great discipline with, like I said, their offensive line was coming out there with cutting us, getting us down, and they were moving down the field.
They have 2 blocking schemes.
On our side.
They have 2 blocking schemes.
Well, they were making it happen.
But when you look at their offensive line was very disciplined.
Yeah, but when you look at our side of the ball, our big uglies, as I call them, they were mashing people and opening up holes. They're not as mature as those guys. But, I mean, now I think Jacob Rushing's up over 800-plus yards. And one of the plays I hung up on the highlight reel was the blocking scheme that they came out with. A hat on a hat, a man on a man, open it up, and boom, he's gone. Likewise, a couple times KJ just needed to step up in the pocket because he had a nice, clean pocket. Wasn't really getting harassed. The offensive line has been a plus side.
No doubt about it. It's been a huge plus, and it's going to be.
And they're so young.
It's going to be an even bigger plus, going down the road with four juniors and 1 sophomore in there, and then we've got another junior who broke his foot early, and I don't know that. I mean, we'd like to hope that he'd make it back in time, before the season's over. But what kind of shape's he going to be?
Right.
That's a big concern.
Right.
But It's a work in progress. Every day, every week, every opponent, it's a work in progress.
There were some short passes that I saw that were very, very promising. A couple of them we connected on, Andre Pegues, Brandon
And
Smith,
the
but a couple of them that we missed.
The timing on those things, even on the ones we missed, the timing was good.
It was.
And,
That's what I wanted to give a compliment
Well,
there to KJ. But then a couple of them were still off.
It's hard to believe that he would overthrow the 4x1, 4x2 team. I mean, they're looking back with the ball. He's just got to let it go. Now, a couple of times, number 6. Who is number 6? That is
Montrell Douglas.
Montrell Douglas caught the one deep down the sideline. But again, when he came across the middle, he wasn't going to catch that inside crossing pattern. I mean, I saw him look at the guy. The ball was there.
He had
catch it, wrap and
Perfect
roll. I thought he would have been gone, but just didn't happen.
Well, and Montrell's doing a great job for us. You know,
Now, this is his first year playing.
He's another senior.
Yeah.
You know, really I mean, he was on the team last year. Did not see a lot of playing time, but you know, so this is.
Yeah.
That's it for him.
Yeah.
There was a lot of and you wonder if he played the year before, since he was a freshman, you know, where would we be? We got some of the fastest athletes on the field,
In the
but we
state.
can't give them the ball. Doesn't really matter.
look at-
We got a bunch of guys running track that happen to play football.
Look at the kids that we have out there who have played for 4 years.
Yo, no, definitely.
You look
Jacob.
you look at Jacob. You look at Donovan Wirt.
Right.
You look at Brandon Smith, and you know, even you look at Quinn Mann. You know, this is Quinn's 3rd consecutive
Right.
year playing football. Sean Small, this is his 4th year. I mean, so you know, you look at the ones who we're talking about, and they're the guys
Who've been around.
that have been around. They've been around. They've been playing the game. And you know, the key for us is just getting the crop that we've got
Right.
to the point that they're at. But you know, with the yield on their crop right now is just so small because we have so few veterans, I
Right.
guess, with quality experience in the program. You know, the crop yield deal is just getting all those puppies up through the experience levels necessary so that when they're all juniors and seniors,
They're performing at that level that these guys are at now. So you're building the program.
you know,
Coming up next, we got the Ask the Coach segment, so we'll be right back.